somehow something touches us, and there's some sense that everything isn't okay. It's like that's the feeling. Yeah? I'm not okay. The world's not okay. Life's not okay.
Missing out on something.
Yes, either missing out or there's an upset. You know, because you could say one of the basic ways that people feel out of tune with what is what we call an upset. Upset with time, upset with matter, upset with people, upset with life, upset with your looks, upset with each other, something like that. So there's some kind of an upset. And from the perspective of that upset, it feels and looks like there's somebody here who is upset.
Yeah.
Whereas actually upset is just happening. And when it appears that there's somebody that's upset, the tendency is towards blame, shame, and guilt, which just adds another layer which makes it very difficult to see what's going on. So this being able to see actually that the upset just happened, nobody did it, and that even though it feels very personal and real, it's like what we keep seeing in the meetings is, you know, someone says, "Oh, I have this going on," and I say, "How many people here know it?" And everybody raises their hands, or almost everybody. And then you can see it's not personal. It's just something that goes on in all of us. Okay, great. Then let's see if we can, you know, investigate it or see what it is. And then people can start to see the mechanics of it and how it functions. But as soon as blame, shame, or guilt kicks in, you know, you've got another layer that makes it very difficult to penetrate what's going on. So, you know, one way is this way of that. Of just bringing your attention back to awareness and resting. Okay, then there's no upset there at all in that. But another is that there's this investigation of what it is, and in that investigation, then these mechanisms can only function unconsciously. Like nobody would trouble themselves consciously. You know, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Let me see how much I can suffer today." And
let's make it a bad day.
Yeah, let's make it a bad day. And not only make it bad for myself, but everyone around me, especially the people I love the most, you know.
Yeah.
But that's how we actually live, you could say. So
could you say, it reminds me of a thing Osho said, in misery you are, in happiness you are not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice way to say it.
Yeah, so claiming misery, making misery, or making misery your own, gives you a sense of being
self.
Yeah. And in happiness, you dissolve. You just be with what it is.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is that, I mean, if you look at our conditioning, I mean, as the Dutch conditioning is not that it's okay to be really ecstatic and happy.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
In most cultures I've been to, it's not invited. It's not even considered to be a possibility. Maybe you'll be happy one day, you know, when you retire or later, but much later. Now is, you know, it's not. But bottom line, we only have this moment. It's this moment.
Tomorrow never comes.
And and then the thing is, because we know this, okay, what you said is profound, actually. But then how does it come out of being just a you know, I could say a mental recognition into being physical, into being somatic, into being... So in this moment here, you know, we perceive the world through 5 senses. Seeing, smelling, hearing, tasting, touch. And I mean, something very simple. In most of us, there's been a habit of when we wake up in the morning, one of the first thoughts we have is, what do I need to do today? And so just that thought is enough for us to tighten up, contract.
Yeah.
And when I speak about this, almost everybody nods and goes, yes, we know this very well in our own life. But here's what's interesting to look at. The moment we tighten up a little bit, and when I say we tighten up, our body just tightens up. That thought comes, we didn't ask for it, it just comes, and our system tightens up. And the moment it tightens up, the feeling is one of pressure. Like, you know, life isn't fun anymore. It's like, there's a pressure. And basically there's not enough time. So there's an upset with time happening already. And so instead of just here and this, eternity, and it's all happening here in this moment, there's this feeling of needing to rush. So what happens with our attention is interesting to track. Because the moment that we feel tightened up, there's a feeling of starting to run, needing to keep it together. And so in that organization, the feeling is that there's a problem. Everything isn't quite okay. It's not radically, for some people it's, like especially if if there's been difficulty in managing the physical world, then it goes into depression or other things. But otherwise it's this feeling of tension, like fight, flight, you could say, has been activated. So what happens is this now is not actually that pleasant anymore.
Need to get somewhere.
Need to get somewhere else, need to, do something. So our attention actually focuses towards the future. And so what happens is, the moment that happens, and you spoke about it, is like when we're happy there's nobody there, and when there's some sense of contraction there's somebody there. So the moment that happens, there's a sense that life is a problem, and our thinking, which is a problem-solving capacity, kicks in, tries to help us, trying to solve it. So what it'll do, it'll look around and it'll find out what the problem is. That's what it does. And the big problems for human beings are love, security, and survival. So it'll look around and it'll say, look, there's something wrong with my relationship, there's something wrong with the amount of money I have, or my health, or something, and it'll fixate on a problem.
Yeah.
And whatever the problem is, we don't want it, which means we have it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what it'll do is it'll look for a solution. And then whatever the solution is, we want it, which means we don't have it. Okay, so now we have everything we don't want, and we don't have everything we do want. That's why it's called suffering.
We don't have everything we do want, and we do have everything we don't want.
Yes, exactly. And so what happens is, now the only chance of happiness is when we get where our mind tells us happiness is. So now our happiness is tied to a relationship, to amount of money, to the way we look, or to something.
Yeah.
And so our whole intelligence organizes to try and get there. So now at this point it's become, it's something to live through so that we can get to where we think happiness is.
Struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So life becomes a struggle.
Yeah.
And in that way of functioning, everybody becomes a means to an end. Someone is either helping you get where you think you're going, or they're not. Okay. So when you get 6 billion people that are functioning that way, how does it function on this planet?
People try to take advantage of each other.
People try to take advantage of each other. There's just this ongoing, way of So in that organization, how do we relate to nature?
Yeah.
It's something just to be used to get what we need to be happy.
Yeah.
It's not something to be honored and enjoyed. Yeah. So as soon as that organization is going, you could say there's a participation in living that's not in tune, or that's in tune, in a funny kind of a way, put it that way.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and if it's going on and we don't recognize it, we can read the newspapers and we can see that there's a problem. But there's a disassociation from it. We don't see how we're involved. We don't see, how our systems are organized that's showing up as that reality.
But it's also the capitalistic system which
it's everything,
which embraces it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this is never enough. You have to get this, and that to be happy.
To be happy, yeah. And so
nowhere there's a billboard which says,
This is it. This is as hard as it gets.
Yeah.
Enjoy, yeah. So then the question is, how do we actually enjoy? How do we enjoy this moment with every single cell in our bodies, including every single cell? It's like, because in fact, our body is also an experience to us. This is what's weird, It's like this moment what we call the world, what we call everything, time, space, is actually just an experience to us, not more.
Nothing we own.
No, because experience, the nature of experience is it's changing
Yeah.
every second. You can't
It comes and
own
goes.
Yeah, it comes and goes. But just consider this for a moment. Everything, including each other, is actually an experience to us. Including our own bodies. We don't usually see it this way. But everything, the experience of now, we say is appearing in awareness. So this body, this moment, everything is appearing in awareness, and it's all an experience, not more. And that experience is appearing here now. So then what is enjoying, or how does enjoying happen? It's like, is it the experience that's enjoyable, or is it the way we relate to it that makes it enjoyable? Because a lot of times there's a confusion around that. Yeah, there's this idea that something is enjoyable, but when you look a little deeper, you can see actually it's never the thing that's enjoyable. It's the relation. It's like how we relate to it. Yeah.
I sometimes give the example when talking to people, when you come to a party. Some people come to the party and they say, okay, now make me happy or give me enjoyment. But it's coming to the party that you don't get something out of it. You come to the party, and then party is an experience. Yeah, it how do you call it? It appears.
Yeah.
It's not something you get out of the party.
So that's the question. So here we are, and there's an interest. I mean, I've never met anybody who wants to suffer, and yet most people end up. So how do we, in this moment, or what are the factors involved in this moment to enjoy the totality of this moment? I mean, we can, maybe we can look at a flower and say, "Wow, that's beautiful." Or whatever sex we're into, you look and go, wow, it's cute or something. But what is it that starts to bring that, I like to call it drinking in the whole universe, like really receiving the whole universe as an experience. It's like when you're drinking it in, if you go into nature or some spot and there's a way in which the mind gets still and there's a drinking in, but there's another flow, I could say, that of where you're not only drinking in, but there's a way of kind of giving back. Like if you're stroking a cat and then there's a way that the cat kind of leans into the stroking, yeah? or if somebody is kissing you and it's somebody that you want to kiss you, and they're kissing you when you want to be kissed, and how you want to be kissed, and where you want to be kissed. All those factors are there. And so you're enjoying, this is cool. And then there's something that happens when you start kissing back, yeah? Or, it's like something changes in the flow. It's like it's moving. So this not only drinking in the universe, but giving back or kissing back or...
dance.
Yeah, dancing, it's like... So how do we find that in this moment with the whole universe? Just this being caressed by, like the Sufis would call it the beloved, yeah? Or, because, again, there's this, if you look at the history of Advaita, there's been lots of subtleties in the different people that have been into it over the thousands of years that it's been in existence. And they're quite profound subtleties, about, okay, there's nobody here. It's one
main message.
Main message, you could say. But then the other message is, like Nisargadatta put it so beautifully to my ears anyway. And he said, when I know there's nobody here or there's nothing, that's wisdom. When I know I'm everything, that's love.
Yeah.
And between those, my life flows. And it's like this awareness which is beyond the whole game. It's not concerned with happiness, with anything. It's not
all embracing.
All embracing, and yet not concerned with any experience. This lifetime is a blip on the screen. It's not concerned. And then, and the paradox that all we have is this experience of now.